intentional habits. And it's actually the root cause of even a lot of our mental health challenges. And that is something called uncertainty intolerance. And I'll explain what that is. It's the inability to tolerate uncertainty. I do not feel comfortable accepting or tolerating uncertainty. Now, before I talk about how that shows up and what is the cure, I want to begin by talking about the roots. Where did this come from? What does it look like? And where did it come from? So, when someone in their early childhood experiences an environment where there is chaos, or there is lack of safety, or there is unpredictability. So for example, maybe the caretaker was very kind and loving one moment, and then would snap the next moment, or would be very present one moment and then would give the cold shoulder or the silent treatment the next. So lack of predictability, lack of consistency, or chaos. When the child feels unsafe in their environment, they can't control anything about their environment, and their environment is not keeping them safe. And when we talk about safety, we know that we do not just mean physical safety, which is obvious, but we also mean emotional safety. So for example, having your emotions dismissed consistently, or having your emotions belittled, shamed. You're not allowed to feel that, or maybe you are punished for your emotions. These are all different types of lack of safety. It's not only the physical safety, but also emotional safety, because our emotions are an essential part of us. And when it is not safe to feel a part of us, it causes problems. And so when a child grows up in an environment where they maybe felt there was a lack of control, lack of consistency, a lack of predictability, and a lack of safety, chaos. So what happens is, as a survival mechanism, this person will feel that they need a sense of control over their environment. And so now that they are an adult, they are no longer in those same circumstances, but the nervous system has already been programmed. And so the nervous system becomes extremely dysregulated or extremely panicked when there is uncertainty. We have learned that uncertainty is unsafe, because in childhood it was. We didn't feel safe. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know whether or not we would be accepted or shunned. We don't know if we were going to be loved or dismissed. You understand? Whether someone was going to be there for us or not. And so what happened is that as a survival mechanism, that person now, as an adult, no longer in that environment, but the nervous system is programmed to need a sense of certainty. I need to feel a sense of certainty and control. Now, I will tell you that this is an illusion. This is actually an illusion, because Allah did not create Dunya with the ability to have control or certainty. Literally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a world called Dunya, which by definition is uncertain. By definition is uncertain. We cannot be certain of what is going to happen 1 minute from now. Can any of you guarantee, for me, guarantee what is going to happen 1 second from now? You know, people who were in the earthquakes, you know, the massive earthquakes that happened, for example, in Turkey. It was in the middle of the night, right? There was one moment they are safe in their bed, and the next moment it's an earthquake. And this is the reality of dunya. Now that, for a person who grew up believing that uncertainty equals threat, that is very stressful. That feels scary. If I cannot control my environment, I feel very unsettled. That is called uncertainty intolerance. I do not have the ability to tolerate uncertainty. And now the issue here is, like I said, we live in a world that by definition is uncertain. And so if I am not able to tolerate uncertainty, what is going to happen to me? I'm going to suffer. But in that suffering, there's going to be certain habits that I will develop. So how will that show up? Well, it'll look like needing to know the plan. to the dot, you know what I'm saying? To the minute. I need to know the plan. And then if the plan changes, I don't like that. I feel very anxious. Do you understand what's happening? This is what I'm describing. It shows up as overthinking. Now, the thing about overthinking, so if I go back to this root cause of the inability to handle uncertainty, in a world that by definition is uncertain, then what I do is, one psychologist called it the overs. Overthinking, over-explaining, overworking, over-functioning, over-planning. Are you guys understanding here? All of the overs are actually a way for me to reduce the anxiety that my nervous system feels with uncertainty. Do you know what overthinking is? Overthinking is the mind's way, the nervous system's way to create the sense of certainty. That's what you're actually trying to do when you overthink. What you're trying to do is control the situation. You can't control it externally, perhaps, or you feel out of control because it's like, I can't control every factor, right? My child is acting a certain way. I can't control it. My husband, my wife is acting a certain, I can't control it. Bad things are happening, I can't control it. There are things in my environment and I can't control it. So what do? I go into my mind and I try to find control there, and that is overthinking. It's actually me trying to create an illusion of control. So what do? I will replay what happened over and over and over. And what do I do as I'm replaying it? So you know how when something negative happens, for example, somebody gets injured. You all know what I'm talking about. You have children. You know that person who, when someone gets injured, they immediately look for something to blame? They immediately look for why it was XYZ's fault. Why it was, sometimes they'll blame the person who got hurt, usually, right? We'll be like, it's because you did this. You shouldn't have done this, that, right? And I'm not talking about, obviously we have to learn, and we have to keep our children safe. But I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about maybe something was an accident. It's not like your kid is like, okay, if your kid is like climbing onto the ceiling, okay, obviously, you would focus on, okay, you shouldn't be climbing on the ceiling. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about even when it is an accident and that person becomes so distressed by the lack of control, by the feeling that I could not control what happened, that they will need to find a way to feel in control by saying, it's because you ate celery in the morning. You guys get it? See, the celery, like a piece of it, got stuck in your throat. And because it was in your throat, it distracted you, and that's why you fell and sprained your ankle. And now I've just momentarily reduced my anxiety of feeling that I am not in control of everything. But the reality is, I am not in control of everything. But for people who have low tolerance for uncertainty because of their history, they cannot deal with the anxiety of uncertainty and the feeling that I'm not in control. And so we will look for ways to create that illusion of control, that illusion of certainty. And that's why we overthink. We are overthinking as a way to reduce uncertainty, as a way to get some certainty, right? So you'll replay it in your mind. So what is the solution? What is the solution? We live in a world that we cannot control. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? You're not in control. How does that make you feel? A lot of us get a lot of anxiety from that thought. No, Yasmin. I have to control my life. I am in control. What are you talking about? I am in control. I have to be in control. We cannot handle the idea that we are not in control. I will tell you this. There is no actual antidote to this other than tawakkul. I can come here and I can tell you, trust yourself. I mean, that's what, when we talk about this in the neuroscience, psychology space, that would be the message. Trust yourself. Well, I appreciate all that, but yourself is also a human being who is limited in capacity, limited in understanding, limited in ability, limited in control. So if I come and I sell that to you, just trust yourself. I am just selling you another handhold that can break. So the reality is this. We have to recognize why we are falling into certain patterns. And then we have to realize that the more I try to find control, the more I try to control my environment, the more anxiety I get. It's, I guess, counterintuitive. The more I try to control, the more anxious I become. Now, we know in our Deen that this doesn't mean that I don't do my part. It doesn't mean that I am careless about my role. It doesn't mean that I am careless about my obligation. Do not misunderstand. It's always, we're so black and white, you know? We go from one extreme to the other. It's not either you have to control everything or you just become careless and negligent. It's not either this or this. No. The believer, we are taught, yes, we have to tie our camel. Yes, we have to tie our camel. This is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. He said, tie your camel and put your trust in Allah. اعقلها وتوكل. وتوكل, right? So he told the companion, tie it and also put your trust in Allah. Don't just leave your camel without tying it. The tying of the camel, and this is where we have to change our sort of the frame of reference that we have. Why do we do our effort? I bet you that 99% of people you ask, why are you doing your work? Why are you putting in effort? What's the reason? Everyone, most people will say, in order to get XYZ result, right? Why are you putting in your effort? In order to get XYZ result. We put in effort to get result, right? Obvious, right? Obvious, right? That's actually the illusion of dunya. We don't put in effort to get result because result doesn't come from our effort. This is actually something we have to unlearn. I know it sounds crazy, but result doesn't come from our effort. Do you know what actual tawheed is? Do you know when we say La ilaha illallah, what that actually means? It means absolutely nothing. Nothing happens except by Allah. That's part of tawheed. Nothing happens except by Allah. La hawla wa la quwwata what? Illa billah. There is no change in state and there is no power or strength except by Allah. So it is not my action that makes the reaction. It's not my effort that brings the result. So again, why do we do it then? Why then? What's the point? What is the point of me going and working, to get rizq? And putting in the effort of raising my kids and teaching them. What is the point of any effort if I don't bring about the result? Does anybody know the answer? To show Allah I'm trying. Who else said? Ibadah. That's correct. It is actual worship. Just to make things very clear, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I want you to understand these essential concepts. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We have not created jinn and human beings except for ibadah, except for servitude to Allah, worship of Allah, submitting to Allah. You understand? Ibadah. This is the reason I'm created. Now, also a fundamental truth is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Nothing happens. There is no strength, there is no power, there is no outcome or result except by Allah. So again, I'm going to repeat this because I know, and this is a survival strategy, I know we believe that we are in control. And we tell ourselves this because it momentarily reduces our anxiety. And I say momentarily because it actually increases anxiety ultimately. Can you imagine if someone came to you and said, it's actually going to be your responsibility to prevent a natural disaster. It's all on you. Okay? So, Asma, it's on you to make sure that Raleigh doesn't drown in a flood. Like, it's all on you. Meaning, like, if you don't take care of it, Raleigh's gonna drown in a flood. Well, how much stress have I just put on her? Do you think she's gonna be able to sleep at night? She might be like, okay, I gotta do my research, I gotta do my work, but can she sleep at night? No matter what she does, no matter how much she prepares, she cannot sleep at night. Because I've just put on her the job of controlling. I've put it on her. This is the problem, is when we believe that it is actually me who is controlling what's going on around here, it creates a deep sense of anxiety. And one of the, interestingly enough, what does the Prophet ﷺ say is the cure to anxiety? In fact, the Prophet ﷺ said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is the cure for 99 ailments. And the least of them is stress. Hem. You know what hem is? Hem is what Esma's gonna feel when I just gave her that responsibility. Hem. It's like carrying the weight of a mountain on your shoulders. I'm in control. I'm in charge. I'm the protector. I'm the savior. I am in charge. I have to protect. I have to make sure bad things never happen. Me, little old me, like what? I'm just a human being. And I am the one who has to make sure that bad things never happen. And if a bad thing happens, I better figure out how I can control it next time to make sure it never happens again, because I'm in control. Now this, again, I'm not saying be careless. I'm not saying don't take accountability. I'm not saying don't learn from your mistakes. Of course we have to. I'm talking about something else entirely. I'm talking about this illusion that I can control my world. And I can't. I can only do my part. And my part, which is the tying of the camel, is my worship, not because I control the outcome. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is a cure for 99 ailments, and the least of them is hem, stress, anxiety. And you can see why. Because you're saying, it's not me making things happen, it's Allah. I'm not the one saving Raleigh from a flood. It's Allah. I can do my part, but it's not all on me. Thank God. Thank God it's not on me. I mean, thank God we have no actual power or control. Like, what would happen to the world? Imagine that, if power or control was actually given to the hands of our leaders. Woo. I mean, the universe would come to an end, right? But they don't actually have any power or control. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. It's actually Allah who owns all the power and all the control. All right, let me pause there. Subhanakallah wa bihamdaka ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. And then if you guys have questions, you can go ahead and ask. Yes.
Like a sweet spot between tawakkul and taking action.
Yeah.
A lot of people can find it. Like, action has consequences. Like, if I do this, this will happen most of the time. So it's important to take also responsibility that if I beat my children, this will happen. If I don't discipline them, they will do this. Like, there's this big umbrella of qadr.
Yeah.
We're trying to do what we can, right? But the qadr is stronger than us. But also, there is consequences to what we do.
So her question is about, the sweet spot, and this is why I'm saying it isn't one or the other. It's not one extreme or the other. She's like, what's the sweet spot? Because there is consequences for our actions. And yes, Allah has created certain rules of the universe. For example, if I drop this bottle, if I let go of this bottle, it falls to the floor. But I'll tell you this, if Allah didn't want it to fall to the floor, it won't. Okay, so it's not that Allah is restricted by these rules, a'udhu billah. It's that Allah created these rules. It is a creation. Everything is a creation. Even time is a creation, right? Wal asr. Even time is a creation, and Allah can do what He wants with it. So I think what's important is for us to understand, yes, Allah has created certain what we call sunan Allah, the sunnah of Allah. Sunnah of Allah, you know, we have sunnah of the Prophet, which is the way of the Prophet. The way of Allah. Allah has created sunnah, yes. And we do our best to do our part within those rules. But we shouldn't become deceived and think that those rules are actually what govern. It's Allah who governs. This is why if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to split the ocean in half, He splits the ocean in half. Even though the regular rule is that the ocean doesn't split in half, right? You know, when Allah wants to make fire cool, Kuni bardan wa salama ala Ibrahim, Allah can make fire cool, even though fire is usually hot. So it's to understand that still Allah is in charge. This is important. This isn't like an unimportant, like subtle point. This is important because yes, there are consequences that Allah created. But if Allah wanted to change that, He could, and He can. That's what a miracle is. We call it miracles. So generally, yes, Allah has created rules in the universe. We do our best to do our part. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, tie your camel, right? Allah could have kept that camel from running away, of course. But He was told to tie it. So this is part of our worship, yes. But don't get deceived by cause and effect. That's all I'm trying to say.
So we get too proud by the tying. Oh, I tie my
Yes. We think, I'll tell you where, let's put it this way. When I tie my camel, listen to this. When I tie my camel, where is my dependence? Is my dependence on the tie? Oh, I got a high quality rope, right? I got a high quality bank account. Or is it, I did that because that's my worship, but my dependence is on Allah. This is gonna happen in our life all the time. When you go and you see a doctor, you're gonna have times in your life, may Allah keep us healthy, where you're gonna have to see a doctor. And the doctor's gonna have to do a procedure, or maybe a surgery, or give you medicine. And it's gonna be, where's your dependence? Is it on this doctor because I got the best doctor? Yes, but then you could, the other extreme would be like, no, I need the surgery, but I'm not going to do the surgery because of my tawakkul. Now this is where the Prophet ﷺ is telling him, no, you tie your camel as well. Do you understand? But he also says, وَتَوَكَّل at the same time. So it's very important that we take the means. This is called asbab. So all of these things are called asbab. Our money, our medicine, the tying of the camel, the work we do, the raising of our children, our efforts. These are all asbab. But we have to be careful not to be deceived by the asbab. Meaning, it is not the tie that keeps the camel. And so we have to be careful. It is not the medicine that heals the individual. It is not the doctor. And so we have to be careful of where is our dependence. Now I say this because if our dependence is too much on the means, we will fall into anxiety. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to control the means. We're trying to control every outcome. And this is an illusion, but it's a dangerous illusion because it comes with a lot of side effects. It's not an innocent illusion, it's a very dangerous illusion because it comes with side effects. And those side effects are anxiety. You cannot literally relax because you're trying to keep Raleigh from drowning. That's a big job. Well, it isn't your job. It's not on you. But if you take that on and think that it's yours, you'll never be able to relax. And so what we have to be able to do is to recognize that I can be safe. This is very important. I can be safe even when there is uncertainty. That is the key. I can be safe even when there is uncertainty. And in the secular space, they would say because you are trusting yourself. But that's also an illusion. I can be safe even when there is uncertainty because I have Allah. Because I'm trusting God. And that's the only antidote. Is to be able to realize that I am still safe even when I don't know what's going to happen. Even when I can't control the outcome, I'm still safe. Why? Because my reliance is on Allah. And I'm going to tell you this, look, there's so many asbab that we can take. We can wear our seatbelt, and we can lock the doors, and we can get a security system, and we can get the best surgeons, and we can get the best medicine, and we can, get our children the best schools, and these are all great. There's so many tools that we have, alhamdulillah, so many asbab, but you still cannot control the outcome. Can you? Can you guarantee that if you eat this food and this regimen, that you will never get sick? Cannot. Can you guarantee if you are really super overprotective of your child that they will never get hurt? That they will never, no accident can happen, nothing bad can ever happen to them? Can you guarantee that? See, that scares us. Why does that scare us? It scares us because we think we are the ones in charge. That's why it scares us. Because I am telling you something that is, it's like I'm contradicting something that you have told yourself to just reduce your anxiety. Oh yeah, I have control. No, you don't. And if you truly understand what that means, it will actually take away your anxiety, not increase it. Because I'm telling you, someone better than you is in control. Someone more competent than you by infinity. Someone more knowledgeable than you by infinity is the one in control. You see, this is the only way to be able to relax. I'm gonna be okay. My family, they're gonna be okay. Even when I can't control the world. I cannot control everything around me. But we're gonna be okay. Why? Because Allah's in charge. That's it. Not because I have money in the bank. Not because I have done XYZ effort. And again, I repeat, we need to do the XYZ effort. But that's not the reason that I'm safe. It's not because I can think of all the ways to prevent any bad thing from ever happening again. That's not why. That's not why you're safe. You're safe because Allah's in charge. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Nothing changes and there is no power or strength except by Allah. I will tell you something else of why you're safe. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah never puts a burden on anyone beyond what they can bear. Do you see what that means? It means you don't have to be worried. You don't have to be worried that something is going to happen and you're not going to be able to bear it. Because Allah says He never does things that you can't bear. You might be like, but Yasmin, so many bad things could happen. But if Allah said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, then what does that mean? It means Allah will never ever give you something beyond what you can bear. So what does that translate to? Well, it means either the responsibility or difficulty will be light, or your ability to withstand will be bigger. Right? Isn't that what it means? If I say to you, I will never give you a weight to carry that you can't handle. So that means one of two things. Either I'm not going to give you very heavy things, or I'm going to help you carry it. Right? Right? This is what Allah is saying. He's saying that if it is heavy, Allah will help us carry it. So you're safe, no matter what it is. But that's when we rely on Allah. But if we rely on ourselves, we can't carry anything. That's why the Prophet ﷺ used to seek protection from that. He says, وَلَا تَكِلْنِي إِلَى نَفْسِي طَرْفَةَ عَيْنٍ. Do not leave me to myself for the blink of an eye. That's Muhammad ﷺ saying that. You understand? So the problem is not the weight itself. The problem is not the difficulty itself. The problem is not the storm itself. The problem is, do I have the protection of Allah when that storm hits? Do you guys understand? See, we're thinking wrong. We're thinking, I'm scared of the storm. Because what if I'm not prepared? What if I'm not prepared? What if I haven't thought of everything, right? Because I overthink. I think I can prevent bad things from happening by just using my brain, right? If I can just plan enough, if I can just prepare enough, I can prevent bad things from ever happening. And so what I am is I'm scared of the storm. I'm scared of not being prepared. Because I think that I am the one who is protecting. I am the one. You see the problem? And that's why I'm so anxious. And that's why I overthink. And that's why I overplan. And that's why I overcontrol. Because I think truly, like, I have to prepare and then bad things won't happen. If I could just overthink enough, if I can just plan enough, if I can just play all the scenarios in my brain before they happen, all the ways that something bad could happen, I've already played it in my mind 55,000 times. And I'm thinking that's going to protect me. Do you see the problem? That's an illusion. And all it does is tire you out. It will tire your entire system, your entire nervous system. And so it's the wrong way that we are thinking. We should not be afraid of the storm. We should always only focus on, am I in the protection of Allah? Am I close to Allah? Because Allah's got me. And any storm that comes, it will never, ever be more than I can handle. Because Allah said so. Allah said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah will never give you something that you can't handle. So, put your trust in Allah. And do whatever is your part. Do your job. Do your work. Take the action. Use the means. Use the medicine and the doctors and the efforts. But please don't think that's what's going to protect you. It's not from your planning. It's not from your overthinking and over-strategizing and over-planning and trying to control every small aspect of everything. That's an illusion. It's just something we do to reduce our anxiety temporarily. But it ultimately makes it worse. All right. Subhanakallah bihamdaka ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. We can take questions, inshallah, from online or from any of you. Just, yes.
Which is when we sort of proportionate outcome to effort, center
Yeah, it's not like they were equivalent. This is why I'm saying, so what she's saying is that our effort is not often equivalent to the outcome. And that is because cause and effect is a creation. It's a creation of Allah. So she gave the example of Musa alayhi salam striking the sea with his staff. And I use this example. You can go and take a large stick and hit, Lake Jordan. It's not going to split, right? That's not the way it works. But Allah made that happen, and Musa alayhi salam still had to do his effort. And something else you think about is that when he's standing in front of the Red Sea, and Allah commands him to strike the sea with his staff. See, many of us who are limited by cause and effect, many of us who have very limited understanding of I am causing the effect, would probably say, what in the world is the point?